Right, with pick 8, Barnes University selects. One second. Before I tell you guys who I would have taken, make sure you guys check out the other videos. So, this is a video series of what I would have done. I've already given my 2 cents on what the Tennessee Titans did. I think they had an awesome draft. It was a good and bad and ugly evaluation. You guys should check that out on this page. But who I would have taken, and I go live before every pick, I would have taken another wide receiver. Don't worry, I'll let you know why. Another wide receiver, smaller school, good athletic profile. His name is Dareke Young, and he's out of Lenoir Rhyne. So, the logic, right? Asking, Titans took Burks. They really took Kyle Phillips. They kind of balance each other out. I've taken, if you follow the videos, I took who I would have taken live before picks. I watched 500 to 1,000 prospects throughout this draft process and free agency. I'm well versed. I've been accurate for years. And the two players so far I would have taken was Burks and Jalen Naylor. I also think they fit each other like a glove when you're talking about a wide receiver core. And I took another one. The Titans, on the other hand, their version of what I'm doing is they took Chig Okonkwo, who is a tight end in the mode of the Jonnu Smith, the Delaney Walker. You know the types and the modes of tight end that the Tennessee Titans like. And I took Dareke Young, wide receiver, who's masked as a wide receiver, who my plan for Dareke Young would be to mold him into a tight end at some point, which would be very similar to a Jonnu Smith, Delaney Walker, but a little bit wide receiver centric, right? Because we're dealing with the wide receiver convert instead of a normal wide receiver. So you look at Chig, who they drafted. I hate to make the comparison, but when we draft very similar players or with the same mind or the same game plan or role in mind, I have to make this comparison because Chiggs is going to be a pretty good H-back, / tight end for the Tennessee Titans. He didn't have great run block grades, but he was a good receiver. He's with the ball in his hands. He no lie reminded me just like a big running back, like the running back that came out from Bama this year and Brian Robinson Jr. It looks very similar when they run with the ball in their hands. Not as great of a blocker, but can block, right? Dareke Young, Lenoir Rhyne receiver that I drafted, obviously small school. First thing that pops out, Lenoir Rhyne, who is that, right? Why did you take him? Level of comp, right? But he went to these bowl games with better competition and still succeeded, still shine. Speaking of shine, he went to the Shrine Bowl and still was faster than the best cornerbacks there. Ran a 4.3, had an 11 long jump, right? You look at this player, metrics, one of the highest graded relative athletic scores in Dareke Young. So you're working with a premier athlete in this draft class. As a wide receiver, not as polished, but can run basic routes, catch the ball with confidence, had several handoffs, and close to the line of scrimmage type of plays and touches within that Lenoir Rhyne offense. You put him on the Titans. What's the difference between Chig and Dareke Young with maybe an added 10 to 15 pound frame, while still in year one learning wide receiver and being a big physical wide receiver? Like, at the very least, as a wide receiver, he's like, and I'm not talking about early Laquan Treadwell, right? Old receiver from Ole Miss. He was considered a bust, but these last couple of years, he's actually been solid. But just think about his Laquan Treadwell's last couple years, but year one for Dareke Young, I think he can literally give that type of production year one as a small school wide receiver. Now, if you think he's big and you want to convert him to a tight end, I think he can be at that weight in that range like a Chig, a Quanquo. So it's just a little flexibility there. He's an athlete. He's a project. I mean, these are the last two picks of the draft. You have some flexibility there, and I thought it was a good, um, you know, investment to take a flyer on an athlete with potential, like really big on coaching. Like I said that, in the last video, coaching is important, and I have faith in the coaching staff being able to do something with the player that I drafted with a plan in mind, with a role in mind, which is very important when it comes to drafting, having a plan and a role in mind. So yeah, I would have taken Dareke Young. He got taken by the um, Seattle Seahawks late when they took a barrage of wide receivers. I'm saying barrage, but they really took a really good receiver in Bo Melton as well. So they really doubled up at the end with two good receivers. I almost took Bo Melton as well, but I probably should have actually. Not nothing against Dareke Young, but Bo Melton is a baller, man. But smaller. I know that rhyme too, but he's a baller but smaller, and the Titans need to kind of just reinforce more size. They're gonna need more size just strictly because of how they play the game. They need receivers that's big enough to block. Um, and I had already taken a smaller wide receiver in Jalen Naylor, so I needed to offset that with Dareke Young, but Bo Melton was definitely higher on my ranked, but I took the experimental project. Melton is a baller, man. I don't think he's quite Tyler Lockett. I think I may have seen that comparison for him. I think, but more people are trying to call like the Olave's Tyler Lockett, which I don't really see that, but I think that he has some potential, man. Bo Melton is really good. But anyway, we're taking Dareke Young, and stay tuned for the last selection of who I would have taken here at Barnes University.